Chapter 1. Eliza Matter. Time is the memory of every conversation we've never had, and I was the shadow wishing for even a single second of it back. He read these words to himself as he wrote them down in his phone notes. In the week following their arrival to the city, after the moving trucks had stopped coming and the halls were filled with boxes and the smell of brewed coffee filled the rooms, the doorbell sounded the halls awake, and she stood at the entrance, impassioned by the sudden appearance of the old lady dressed in all black, asking, "Hello, Eliza, may I come in?" she asked, holding her black umbrella at the door. The tone of her voice gave her away. "Lilith, yes, come inside," she said, holding the door open for her as she checked to make sure the streets were empty. It was late that night, but he could hear the chatter coming from the living room. He heard the footsteps as they grew closer. When he noticed his door open a few inches, letting the light in, she stared at him, knowing full well his breathing gave him away. Dave lay awake in the room, unable to sleep in this new place. Who is that? He wondered to himself. He had never heard her voice nor seen her, and the way she spoke to his mom, it was as if she knew her well. Ready for what? He thought to himself. Los Angeles was so new to him. She motioned her throughout the house. It was small and decorated with discount picture frames and the odd potted flower. "Sit," as Eliza cut the plastic from their bought couches. They were brown leather and made little noise for being so. "It's been years, hasn't it, Granny?" Dave's mom said. "Don't call me that. You know I hate it," the lady said. Eliza blew on her mug. The old lady sat down, her black dress pressed against her sides, folding her legs as Eliza followed in kind, as she taught many years ago. Her pale cheekbones and gray hair seemed almost soft. She was young for her age, which was a paradox for her. Her glasses were misted with warm mist, and there was a brief pause. Eliza stood and walked over to the kitchen, where she grabbed a knife and asked, "So, have you come as a friend or as a puppet from the state?" Eliza looked at the old lady, sensing that her statement might have been forced. "Don't worry, I'm not here to kill him, much less turn you in. If anything, I'm curious to see his son." "I see. Care for something sweet?" she smirked. "Dave found a bakery down the street," she said as she cut a few pieces of coffee cake for them. "Anything is better than that artificial stuff," she said. The old lady put down the coffee mug and placed her briefcase on the glass table that separated them. When she opened it, 3 holographic discs were revealed. Blue effervescence illuminates the dark room. Dave slid out of his bed and peered out towards the living room. "Go to sleep," she said, noticing the old lady's silver eyes looking at him in the darkness. He shut his door and climbed back into the warmth of his bed. The faint sound of water dripping outside made him lose any sense of time. That night, he dreamed of that same water dripping like a broken faucet. Dave awoke hours later to the sound of his alarm and his mother knocking at his door. "Get ready, we're leaving in a few," she said through the door, her voice trailing off into the kitchen. He rubbed his eyes, stretched his muscles, and stepped onto the cold wood floor. His room was empty. A computer desk to his right illuminated the room as he walked past his window looking out. He walked out to the kitchen. "Who was that lady yesterday?" he asked. He noticed her bronze hair in a ponytail and her green eyes glimmering like his. She pulled up the sleeves of her purple turtleneck while serving his plate. He studied her height. "Hurry up, I need to start the car," she said. "Why is traffic so empty today?" he asked from the back seat, without even lifting his head from the phone. The slow sounds of the windshield wipers were calming, and the water droplets were rhythmic. "I'm not sure we're even late today," his mother said from the driver's seat, looking at the clock. The time was 7:42 a.m., and the city stretched off into the distance along the 5 freeways. Los Angeles was empty that day. "It's your fault, Dave. You had to turn off our alarms," his mom said. Dave smiled in the back seat. He hated school. It was mind-numbing to him. "And last week you said you'd go to the bathroom, and you disappeared for the entire class period. Don't think they didn't call me," she said. "I did all my work, even for next week," he said. That doesn't give you the right to skip. You're only 14. You're lucky they caught you early, or we would have paid a truancy ticket, she exclaimed, feeling uneasy under the seatbelt. Instead of being angry, he kept quiet. Dave, you'll be taking some tests today with the lady who came by yesterday. She looked at him through the mirror. What kind of tests? He puts his phone down. It's complicated. She's a doctor, so don't be worried too much. Mrs. Loader tugged at her lab coat, which was a size or two bigger than her figure. She looked out the window at the rows of green trees. She input information into the terminal before her, changing the humidity of the room and lowering the temperature. Fuck! Why did she have that kid? She grumbled. She was feeling her age, considering she rarely stays up all night and had come straight back after leaving to prepare. Good morning, Eliza, the woman said. Dave noticed it wasn't genuine, but there was a tinge of something about it. Good morning, Dave smiled at her. He knows how to be polite. Mrs. Lauter smirked at Eliza and motioned her to a side room, saying, Let me talk to him alone. The old lady motioned them towards her. Are you sure? Eliza asked, taking her hand off his shoulders. She was puzzled. Go, she said, as the heavy doors closed behind her. What was that about? Dave wondered, his anger rising. She worked for me for years. Those ties never fade. Come here, child, she motioned. His body propelled him forward. Sit, young one, she said, moving a desk chair and a rolling pan in front of them. There were needles and vials of liquid. He became a little nervous. Hand me your arm. I'm going to take some blood. His body was forced forward without his notice as she tied him to the chair, locking him in place at his chest. She pulled a small box from her lab coat and handed it to him. She handed him a key. Trust seemed like almost a necessity to him. He calmed his fear. What kind of twisted test was this? He felt his fingernails bring blood to his palm while holding the key. The burning sensation spread from his arm to his chest. He couldn't even move his fingers. He was stoned. Pain, as he had never felt before, overtook him. His breathing became labored and he gasped for air. Opening the box became a primal experience. Every fiber of his being focused on that single keyhole, and as fast as it came on, it dissipated. He held an emerald in his hand. The box was on the floor. Most humans would have died. She stood, loosening his bonds. He felt his stiff arms fall to his sides. She lit a cigarette and walked over to the window. What was that? He asked, staring at the emerald gem. I observed how you react to pain, she said.
Notice me, senpai. I've never been noticed. Hi, my name's Mary, and you're reading Unbeknownst.